Hi and welcome back to Bow Tie Videos. In the next 22 episodes, we'll be delving into the supernatural, the paranormal, and all things weird and wonderful that happen in our amazing, mysterious world. In this episode, episode 1, we're going to take a look at the captivating world of reincarnation. We'll explore the concept, dig into its origins, examine compelling evidence and case studies, and ponder its implications on our understanding of life beyond death. So sit back, relax, and open your mind to the possibility of something beyond this lifetime. And I'll just go and check that I haven't done this in a previous life. You don't need to be religious or a spiritualist to be inquisitive towards reincarnation. It's an ongoing question that's been asked throughout time. Does our soul or spirit, after biological death, move into a new body? Many cultures and religions believe so, from Hinduism and Buddhism to ancient Greek philosophy, all the way through to a modern New Age thinking of reincarnation. Hindus call it samsara. Karma plays a critical role in determining the circumstances of each rebirth and heads them towards a spiritual growth. Buddhas teach about the self and the collection of changing physical and mental attitudes leading to a nirvana, or once again, liberation through the cycle of birth. So do you believe that our lives are a series of events interconnected and influenced by our actions, leading to a better rebirth, a better second life, or vice versa? Is deja vu a glimpse or a nudge trying to tell us that we've lived before? I can remember myself as a child thinking that I had been somewhere before, only for me mother to tell me I hadn't. Being young, I just forgot and moved on. But was that trying to tell me something? See, I always knew one day I'd be a successful YouTuber. Ignore the viewing figures, okay? Ignore the viewing. Let's move on, shall we? Some of the most famous ancient philosophers believed in reincarnation. Pythagoras and Plato are two that understood the soul to be immortal and that we experience multiple lifetimes. Probably the most famous researcher of reincarnation in modern times is a man called Dr. Ian Stevenson. He has investigated numerous cases of reincarnation, most of which are children. He set out seeking evidence that could support the existence of reincarnation, and I think he was successful. Some of the children that have experienced past lives in his case studies is astounding. These children have provided detailed accounts of their past lives, often including specific information that they could not have known through ordinary means. Let's have a look together at some of these unbelievable cases. One of the most compelling cases is that of James Leininger, a young lad from Louisiana who from a very young age had comprehensive memories of being a World War II pilot. At first his parents were skeptical, yet they became convinced when James was able to recount specific details about the pilot's life, the aircraft, and death that were verified by historical records. At the age of 6, he would wake up screaming about being shot down. He would even tell his parents the name of the aircraft carrier his plane was on, and also the names of all the fellow pilots. This was all verified by independent means, of which they stated it was unexplainable to how James would have known all of this, especially at such a young age. This has by no means been the only strange and incredible case of possible reincarnation. Another intriguing account is that of Shanty Dey, an Indian girl born in the 1930s. At the age of just 4, she began recalling her past life in a town over 100 kilometers away. She told her parents that she lived in that town with her husband. Once again, her family were confused and bewildered and decided to ignore it. But after Shanty had tried to run away from home at the incredible age of just 6, was found on her way to that town. Her parents then decided to look into her recollections. Little Shanty provided specific details about her previous family and that she was married and had died 10 days after giving birth to her child. She even went as far, bear in mind she was only 4, as to tell her mother and father that they were not her parents. She would tell them about the house where she lived and other events from her previous life. The parents decided to investigate so they could reassure Shanty of her family's origins, etc. The investigation rocked the parents, as everything Shanty had told them was accurate memories and related to a woman in another town. And when the husband of the deceased woman met Shanty, not only was he shocked, but he was convinced that she was indeed his wife reincarnated. More recently, in America in 2015, a retired fire officer, Jeffrey Keane, claimed to have been a Civil War general in a previous life. Whilst visiting an old Civil War battlefield out of the blue, Jeffrey was overcome with emotion and even had trouble breathing. His family initially thought he was having a heart attack. After this troublesome experience, Jeffrey consulted a psychic. During their talk, Jeffrey said he constantly felt the urge to say the words, "not yet," for no apparent reason. After later investigation, it was revealed the words "not yet" were the words used by General Gordon to tell his troops to stay back. General Gordon had said these words on the same part of the battlefield Jeffrey had visited earlier when he had trouble breathing. Not only that though, when Jeffrey was around 30, he went to a hospital with excruciating pain in his jaw and face. The pain subsided and no cause was ever found. When researchers looked at General Gordon's life, it was revealed that he had been shot in the face when he was around 30 years old. The next case is probably one of the most famous reincarnation cases. It's about 4-year-old Ryan Hammond. He began to have consistent nightmares about people and places he had never seen. After months of this, he began to describe these people and places in more detail to his family. It sounded to his family that Ryan was describing the golden age of Hollywood. His mother obtained a book about the golden age of Hollywood, and whilst flicking through it, Ryan pointed to a man and said that was him in a previous life. His concerned mother, Cindy, took Ryan to a child psychologist who found that Ryan was able to accurately describe over 50 details of the man that he had pointed to in the book. This man was a Hollywood actor who had died in 1964. One thing Ryan had got wrong, though, was the age of his death. Ryan had said he was 61 when he died, but the birth certificate had stated 59. But after further investigations, it was revealed that the death certificate was wrong and the man had died at 61. Back to the more recent past for this next reincarnation story. In 2015, a 3-year-old boy from Golan Heights had a distinctive red birthmark on his head. This boy claimed to his family that he had been killed in a previous life, and his birthmark was a sign of his murder. The family, after initially laughing it off, instructed psychic Dr. Eli Lash to investigate further. He took the boy to the city in which he had claimed to have been murdered. When they got there, the boy told Dr. Lash his original first name and last name. But more bizarrely, he told him the name of his murderer. A local man got involved and told Eli Lash that the man the boy had claimed to be had gone missing 4 years earlier. Things became even more weird when the boy was able to pinpoint his old home. Whilst there, he walked up to a neighbour and said, "We had a fight, and you killed me with an axe." The blood drained from the man, and the boy continued, "I even know where you buried my body." The boy led them to the burial site and even found the axe that had murdered him. Eventually, the neighbour that the boy had accused confessed to the murder. Amazingly, the man was convinced the boy was the reincarnation of the man he had murdered because the long red birthmark was the exact location of where he had hit him with the axe. I don't live too far away from Hexham, England, and the last dumbfounding story involves a set of twins from this very town. Mr. and Mrs. Pollock were a couple who lived in Hexham. In 1957, tragedy struck the family home when their daughters Joanne and Jacqueline, aged 11 and 5 respectively, were killed in a car accident. Obviously, they were devastated. A year later, Mrs. Pollock became pregnant, and to the couple's surprise, she gave birth to identical twin girls. They named the girls Gillian and Jennifer. Coincidentally, Jennifer had a birthmark on her waist that was incredibly similar to one that Jacqueline, one of the deceased daughters, had on her waist. She also had another birthmark on her head that looked very much like a scar Jacqueline had on her head from a previous playground accident. When the twins were about 3 or 4 months old, the family moved away from Hexham. A couple of years after this, the twins started asking for toys belonging to their older deceased sisters, even though they had never seen the toys before. Eventually, after a few years, the family moved back to the northeast of England, back to Hexham. Although being way too young to remember the town, the twins knew landmarks that only their older sisters would have known. They were also petrified of cars and would constantly tell their parents that the cars are coming to get them. The twins are much older now, and the memories began to fade, but the parents do recall all their strange emotions and demands relating to their older deceased sisters. Now, after those curious reincarnation stories, I don't mean or want to confuse reincarnations with lookalikes or doppelgangers, but it has come to light quite recently that some celebrities look strikingly like people from the past. I mean, look at Nicolas Cage and this unknown Civil War soldier. And what about Justin Timberlake and the old time criminal? They look alike, don't they? Or Jack Black and the lead actor in this old opera. That's definitely a look-alike. Is that reincarnation? What about Maggie Gyllenhaal and the women's rights leader, Rose Wilder Lane? And maybe Keanu Reeves and his look-alike, Louis Maurice Butet, a French painter and illustrator. And the funniest of all, Ellen DeGeneres, is a spitting image of Henry David Thoreau, an American naturalist. I know this isn't proof at all of reincarnation, but it could be. While the idea of reincarnation is fascinating, it is also met with skepticism. Many scientists argue that there is no overwhelming evidence to support the existence of reincarnation and attribute past life memories to cognitive behaviors, cultural influences, or psychological trauma. Despite the skepticism, the question of what happens after death remains one of humanity's greatest mysteries. Reincarnation offers a hopeful and intriguing possibility that life continues in new forms, and a possible reason for a person's better self and a life's unfinished business. Do you not think reincarnation invites us to reflect on our own lives, our actions in this life, and maybe our connections to others? Whether or not we believe in past lives, in reincarnation, I think maybe the idea encourages us to live with greater compassion and some sense of purpose. Imagine if reincarnation was proven. Imagine if we all knew exactly what was coming after we passed away. Would we fear death like most do now? Would it not make us more interconnected? Would it not make us a better people, knowing that our actions today might determine or change our actions in another life? Even if reincarnation isn't real, this concept inspires me to live a better life, to be kind, and to seek more out of life as it is now. Like more views, less more subscribers. Is reincarnation a profound truth or a fascinating possibility? Can it enrich lives, or is it pure and simply imagination running riot? You be the judge. Thanks for watching the first in the new series. Please let me know what you think in the comments and please subscribe. I'm trying my hardest to get to 1,000 subscriptions. The next video in the series is about ghosts, hauntings, and things that go bump in the night. See you then, if you dare. Bye for now.